Oh, yes, of course. Here we are.
You mean man will fly in one of those someday?
If man were meant to fly, he'd have been born with wings.
I am about to prove otherwise, Archimedes, if you care to watch. Here she goes.
No. Man will fly, all right. Just like a rock.
It would have worked if it weren't for this infernal beard. Man will fly someday, I tell you. I have been there. I have seen it.
And that amazingly memorable scene was from Disney's Sword in the Stone, one of our absolute favorite films. And pretty much, I mean, I don't care who you are. Like, you could be in the worst mood possible. You watch that and suddenly maybe your day's not so bad anymore. It's probably one of the most infectious laughs in cinema. What do you think, Steve?
I would say so. Laughter does the body good.
It does. It's good for the soul.
Yeah, good for the soul, good for the mind.
I believe if I had to pick a specific 2D animated feature film from Disney, Sword in the Stone is probably my favorite.
Yeah, it's up there. Definitely up there.
Yeah. I mean, there are other ones that are very much, within my top 3 kind of thing. But Sword in the Stone, definitely, for me personally, I would say is probably be my favorite out of the bunch.
It definitely makes you want to learn magic in order to do the dishes.
It does. It does indeed. And it was cool because it had a lot of practical application. Obviously, you had this boy, Arthur, who by all accounts was a bit of a foster kid, really, kind of an orphan, and wasn't really respected or thought of highly by the caretakers that he had. And then Merlin came along and began the very famous relationship with Arthur, teaching him life lessons through the use of a little magic.
Magic does the body good too.
I always really liked in that scene too, like the voice actors are so good in that film,
right?
Specifically with Merlin and Archimedes, the just
owl.
It was like one of the few cartoons that you watch where like first of all, Merlin's character didn't take crap from anybody. Like, he was respectful, but at the same time, like, he had a short fuse. Like, he didn't have a lot of time to deal with stupidity, and there were times when he just lost his cool and he exploded and stuff. But also there was just a lot of that twinkle in the eye kind of mentality that he had, and it was just great. And just at the same time, though, he wasn't perfect, as that scene demonstrated, where the plane gets caught up in his beard as he's winding it, and then it just totally fails when he's giving it.
Well, I think I ought to explain the scene.
Sure, go for it.
So basically, Arthur is learning a few things, pre-scene there from Archimedes. He's learning to read, he's learning to write. And Merlin says, hey, I have this flying contraption. Have you all seen it? And they say, yeah, it's right above you. And he goes, oh, great. And he's twisting up the propeller because he's going to let it go and the thing is going to go flying. But the propeller gets caught in his beard.
Yes.
He's got his beard that's down to his kneecaps. And so the beard gets caught in the propeller and he goes, oh, basically says what he says. I'm going to, watch this. And he runs towards the window with the plane in hand, beard wound up in the propeller, and he lets the thing go. And of course, the beard makes the propeller not fly and
goes straight down into the water.
Straight down to the water and breaks apart. And of course, Archimedes, who's an owl and can fly and believes man will never fly.
And can speak English.
Starts busting up laughing, and he is always looking to put Merlin in his place.
Yeah, they have a very amusing relationship,
right?
Where they it's like a love-hate relationship. It's almost like an elderly couple or something, or like two old buddies who've known each other since they were kids, and now they're in their 80s or something, and they're just having a great time roasting each other, that sort of thing. That's such a great movie.
Great movie.
You are listening to Joygasm, a video game and movie podcast. I'm Russ, Xbox Live Toaster 360. He is Steve, Xbox Live Stevavitch. And we have a spectacular show for you in episode 145 today on October 31st, 2019. We want to wish all of our fabulous listeners a happy Halloween. In fact, I'm curious whether or not Halloween is celebrated internationally or not. I know in South America, obviously, they have
Dia de los Muertos.
Thank you very much.
Muertos. I said it really bad.
No,
but that's basically what it is.
Yeah, well, it wasn't too bad. Day of the Dead. But of course, the origins of that is not Halloween based. That's actually a different custom altogether. But
right.
Let me ask you this: since your wife is originally from the Philippines, do you know if they celebrate Halloween in the Philippines?
I don't believe they do. They do, but they do in Canada.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
So, okay, well, there you go. It is international,
Yes.
so to speak. I'm curious if Europe has any kind of celebrating
Did you just say
Halloween.
the Europe?
No, I said I'm curious if Europe.
It sounded like you said the.
Does it really? Yeah. I'll have to listen to the recording afterwards. I don't believe I did. But
I think in some parts they do. I think so. I mean,
perhaps a merry old London.
what little chap doesn't like to get dressed up as a vampire? Walk around town grabbing his crumpets.
I mean, if you look around the UK, I mean, it's a perfect backplate, really, for a lot of Halloween. The cobblestones are so bloody old, and all the buildings and architecture. I mean, Quasimodo or Frankenstein or someone's got to be lurking around the corner, eh?
I want to dress up as Jack the Ripper.
We need to look this up after the show, and I'm just curious to know. What you should look up on your phone while we're talking right now. We should take a little look-see. Okay. And of course, while he's doing that,
What am I looking up? If they have Halloween everywhere?
yeah, just Halloween is celebrated internationally, like in Europe and that sort of thing. We know it's here in the United States. You just said that that Canada also participates. I just would like to know, because I tend to think that, classically speaking, it tends to be more of an American. It's not even a holiday. It's just like something that I've heard. Apparently, like the candy companies actually put together the day for this, and it just kind of exploded from there. So,
Although it is derived from ancient festivals and religious rituals, Halloween is widely celebrated today in a number of countries around the globe.
Oh.
In countries such as Ireland, Canada, the United States. That's all Google says. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll just take it for what it says. Anyway, we hope all of you are having a very fun, festive,
Sugar-filled.
Yes. Diabetic-inducing, maybe not that far, but we hope everybody's having a good time and staying safe this Halloween night. It's definitely cold for us.
Yes.
Out of nowhere, I think that there is some sort of huge cold front that's coming from the north, and I think we're kind of on the little tail end of it here in Texas.
Yep. 37 degrees.
Here or 37 degrees. Well, there you have it. It's currently a balmy 37 degrees outside, and it's October.
Fahrenheit.
Oh my goodness. Well, anyway, we actually went out and had a fun little time taking my 4-year-old out for her little pilgrimage of candy treats and adventures and stuff, and that was fun, even though we were all kind of, I don't know about you, my face was numb by the time I got back in the house.
Yeah. My wife brought a little dog, and the little dog started whimpering. Like, I'm cold.
Look at me, I'm a chihuahua. I don't belong in this cold weather.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have a trick or treat of a show for you today. Gaming news focuses on the BlizzCon rumors, Luigi's Mansion 3, and Death Stranding. Movie news, which I know you're going to be excited about, Steve, features the new Witcher Netflix trailer.
It's about time.
Which I thought we could take a little look and provide our reactions to our topic of the day is Call of Duty Modern Warfare gameplay impressions, which you can fast forward to if you look at the timestamps located in the episode's details section of iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, etc. Otherwise, just keep listening. So, Steve?
Russ, I haven't been doing much. I know that's what you're about to ask me.
I know. I'd
Reading
like to know.
your thoughts. I haven't hardly done a thing.
Really?
I've actually, there was a couple of movies I didn't tell you about last week that I watched.
A couple more, you say?
Yes. And then I have a story for you that has absolutely nothing to do with movies whatsoever. It's kind of gross, actually, but I know you'll be entertained by it. Because I know you'll be able to identify. But first, I watched Highwaymen.
Highwaymen.
Which...
Not Highway Boys.
No.
Not Highway Woman.
No.
Highwaymen.
Correct. It's Kevin...
Highway Halfmen?
No. Oh. Yeah, Highway Halflings.
Yeah.
It's a Netflix only with Kevin Costner.
Oh.
And it's not bad. It's kind of slow. A lot of dialogue.
Kevin Costner has a string of films that, for some reason, they've been flying under the radar that I've never heard of.
Right.
It's just bizarre. Then all of a sudden he'll be in one where it's like, oh, it's like huge, and I'll go see it and stuff. But it's weird. It's like he's one of the few actors that's, for some reason, it's like, to me, he doesn't have to do that, but he just seems to enjoy being in those kind of fly under the radar type of films.
Well, that and the song and silent type, right? Strong and silent type, gun wielding martial law.
The hesitant hero.
Right. So anyway, that was not bad. It was kind of like a Bonnie and Clyde story.
Uh-huh.
So not bad there. And then what else did I watch? I watched, Captive State. Now, this was a movie I was wanting to see in the theater, and it was in the theater, and then it was out. And I thought, that's probably a sign that it sucks.
And so I'll watch it.
And so I'll watch it. And so let's see who's in it. It's the kid from The Equalizer 2 who's in it. I forgot his name. I'm bad at names. And then John Goodman's in it.
Okay, I like myself some John Goodman with that. I'm not sure which kid you're talking about.
John Goody. It was the kid who was doing the murals on the wall, and then he kind of got involved in a little bit of gang work. You got to see the movie.
Okay.
Anyhow, it sucked. It felt very tense throughout the whole movie, like something was going to happen, and then absolutely nothing happened in the whole movie until literally the last 5 minutes of the movie.
Oh.
And so the whole time, I'm looking at Sarah. You want to keep watching? Something's going to happen, but we're 45 minutes in, and then people are just talking like really serious. That's it. Anyhow,
Not even a man boob.
no. So I'd probably pass on that one, Russ.
Yeah, I think I'll take your word for that one, Steve.
So here's the story.
About a lovely lady?
No.
Oh.
But I know where you're going there. Sorry about that. That was my zipper.
Apparently he feels compelled to grind up on his microphone.
That was my cricket legs. Anyhow, so the wife and I were getting a meal, right?
Oh, a meal.
And
not a snack.
No. And with the seasons changing, I had a little extra brain flowage, out my ears. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a little bit like Shrek when it comes to my ears. Like in the beginning of the movie when he picks his ear hair for a candle on the table. That's me. That's right.
Wow.
That's me.
At
least that's how I feel anyway. That's an image, isn't it?
It is.
You're not going to be able to get that one out of your mind. Okay.
And this only happens to you during a season change.
Yeah, kind of. Like when the air goes like from really hot to really cold, or from
See,
really
you should
cold
be a
to really
weatherman. You should just you'll be in front of the green screen and people say, so what's the forecast like, Steve? And you're like, well, it looks like it's about to change about 24 hours.
Yeah. He's right, ladies and gentlemen. I should be in the circus. Anyway.
I know California's without power. Here, take a candle.
So we're waiting for our food. We just went to get like a burger, and I'm getting my drink. And I'm like, I'm just trying not to pay attention to like the slow, creep of earwax coming out of my ear.
You could feel it?
I could feel it like, I'm like, I'm trying not to pick it. I want to get attention to myself. And I'm like, I can't handle it. I can't handle it.
Go to the bathroom.
I was trying. There was a line to get a drink, and I wanted to get my drink. So I looked around, and no one was
Priorities.
Yeah.
Got
And
this
so
huge
I
lump
was-
of something
I was
coming out of my
in
ear.
line,
But
and I
I'm
didn't want to get out.
thirsty at the same time.
What do I do? And so anyhow, I looked around, no one was looking, so I itched it real quick.
So gross.
And so I'm like, got it. And then all of a sudden, I was hearing an HD. I mean, I heard a hiss, like a.
Oh God.
And I'm like, what is that? And it turned out it was the guy's soda behind me. He had taken the lid off, and I could hear the fizz behind me.
He was like literally like right behind you, his cup, and was like slurping it by your ear. You're like,
Yeah.
oh my, oh,
It's not Halloween yet. Don't scare me.
personal space.
Yeah, no, he was on the table behind me. Anyway, I remember you said he had gone something similar. So
I
anyhow,
had.
I was like, I have to tell Russ.
HD audio, yes.
Right.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think I'd probably mentioned it on the show a while back about how all of a sudden I just started losing my hearing. I really did think there. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go deaf. I'm goodbye audio. It's going to be a sad tale. And then I go to the doctor, and they end up using some kind of solution and putting it in my ear and use some kind of little like mini vacuum cleaner. And I tell you, once the whole procedure was over with, I had pristine. I'm talking, I cannot believe how amazing the quality of audio. It was crazy. I was telling everybody to be quiet because everything was so loud that normally I wouldn't bat an eye at whatsoever. And I don't know. I think it's probably a healthy thing to get that done every once in a while.
There you go. Oh. That was my story. Hope you all were entertained.
I feel as though that was very appropriate considering it's Halloween. We needed a gross story like that.
Right. What have you been up to?
I have been playing a couple of games. I've continued playing The Outer World, which you need to start playing. I've decided this because you don't really have any kind of game you're invested in at this point.
Well,
and it's on Game Pass, so you can just download it.
Yeah, maybe. I still have to.
Yeah.
I told you I downloaded Metro Exodus, right?
Yes.
Haven't started that one.
Well, the good news is that because it's Game Pass, you just download it, and then you'll get around to playing it. You don't want to have to wait for it, because actually it's kind of a big size. Takes time.
Download it and go to bed.
Exactly. You want to be able to just start playing it when you feel like it, as opposed to, I feel like playing, I'm going to download it. Okay.
I actually have to, so I'll play that one. I have to play Metro. I have to beat God of War, because I've only got like a half hour into it. And then I have to play Assassin's Creed, Odyssey. And I think that's it. So that should get me right past Christmas and maybe up to Cyberpunk, hopefully. Or Final Fantasy VII. So, sorry.
You know what? Yeah, there's quite a few games, like big games that are coming out in rapid succession. Like we have, of course, Death Stranding, which I think is coming out next week.
That's all you, buddy.
I think it's like November 7th or 8th or something like that. And I believe I pre-ordered it.
That is...
Didn't I pre-order it?
All you.
I'm not sure if I pre-ordered that game.
You most likely did, Russ.
I know I pre-ordered the Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Because you have nothing else to use your money for than pre-ordering games.
I pre-ordered already Cyberpunk 2077.
I did do that, yes.
But I don't remember if I actually pre-ordered Death Stranding, simply because I was kind of on the fence with it, but just based off the gameplay footage I saw. I was like, I don't know if I want to get this done. I need to check and see if I had actually put that on some kind of pre-order.
Check your Amazon orders or something.
Yeah. I beat Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which of course is what our topic of the day is today. And so that was actually, I really, just as a sneak peek, I really enjoyed the single player campaign. I thought it was just a blast to play. And we'll get into that a little bit later. And of course, for our Twitch streaming night, which happens every Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. Central Time, I enjoyed watching you play Resident Evil 2 Remake, as well as The Evil Within 2, which was, I thought, very appropriate considering it's Halloween. And, you know, you were able to get through the final boss in Resident Evil 2, which was great, lickety split. And then, you just went right back in. I'm curious to hear some of your thoughts on The Evil Within 2, since it's been a while since you played it. And it's been a while since I've even watched you play it, but we kind of fell right back into it after about, 5-10 minutes of play.
Yeah, Evil Within 2 is like Silent Hill and Resident Evil combined.
Yes.
But I just wish it has... I just wish it had more of the Resident Evil ammo availability, but it has the Silent Hill ammo availability. So you walk around like, okay, I have 3 bullets and there's 50 zombies. What do I do?
Right. And they're not slow moving either.
No, they run at you. It makes you wish also that you had, because I know on Half-Life, it makes you use your resources, but you have like cybernetic weapons and stuff that you can use.
Right.
This, you don't. Mm-hmm. So it makes it a little more difficult, unfortunately.
Indeed. But are you enjoying it?
Yeah. I don't like... I kind of am and I'm kind of not. I mean, the acting is so bad. It's almost like comic relief.
It is. Well, but which I mean, Silent Hill was kind of like that too. Like some of the old school survival horror games that you played back in like the PS1 days, there was kind of like the protagonist was talking to himself,
Right.
whatever. And it got kind of comical after a while because it was like they had to try and portray their inner monologue, but so they did so with the guy just kind of talking to himself out loud. I don't know. It's kind of a tradition of sorts.
Yeah. When Geralt does the same thing in The Witcher, although he kind of subdues it. Oh, footprints. I'm not going to follow them. You know? I see blood on the ground. It could be something serious.
Well, and it's fun too because then you start hamming it up and sounding like him too as you're playing, and that's always fun. You guys, if you miss our streaming, you really should watch some of the videos before they expire on Twitch, just because there are moments like that which actually I think are really funny. Personally, just being on the couch with you, and I'll pipe in every now and then too.
Twitch wasn't being friendly, by the way, this last time. It really, really, really wanted us to play Gears of War 5.
It did. And that issue is actually still there. I was able to halfway fix it. I went into our account and noticed that like there were several games that we had played that were not Gears 5. And we had actually changed the name before we started broadcasting. But for some reason, it's still recorded as Gears 5. So hopefully that little issue gets fixed somehow, some way, because... it's rather misleading.
Right. Funny, I want to watch someone play Overwatch, but everybody on Twitch is playing Gears 5.
Yeah. That doesn't look like Gears 5. What is that? So let's make our way back into gaming news. We have a few stories here that I wanted to get through here. The first one is that Luigi's Mansion 3 has been released. IGN's Ryan McCaffrey gave it an 8.3, saying that Luigi's Mansion 3 is so fun, charming, and smartly designed that he hopes that we can all get more than 3 of these every 20 years. I know for me, that is a game that I'm really wanting to pick up for the Nintendo Switch. That and Link's Awakening are 2 titles that perhaps I'll ask for Christmas or something, but both have gotten really good reviews, and the visual appeal of it, as well as the gameplay mechanics, have me interested. I definitely want to check that out. The second story that we have is that the 2019 BlizzCon starts this weekend. There's a lot of rumors swirling around as to what it is they're going to be releasing and what they're going to be showcasing. I know that some of which is Overwatch 2. Now, ESPN reported from sources familiar with Blizzard's plans that the company will announce a sequel of sorts to Overwatch. Fans should expect something closer to the recent Fortnite Chapter 2, which is essentially a big new content update to the existing game. According to the reports, Overwatch 2 will include new game modes, maps, heroes, and a PvE mode. There will also be a new logo. Overwatch 2 is also reportedly heavily focused on story and narrative, one of the elements that many Overwatch fans feel is lacking in its current iteration. I happen to be one of those people, and I think you are too.
Yeah, I am.
So I'm curious to see how they're going to be implementing that in. Hopefully, it's not going to be like an afterthought or anything like that. There may be a new PvP mode called Push that will be revealed to go along with the existing modes like Assault, Control, Escort, and Hybrid. But it is unclear if Overwatch 2 will be a standalone release or some kind of paid update. So I guess we'll just have to find out once BlizzCon is underway.
There you go.
Another game that's been heavily rumored is Diablo 4. If you recall, Steve, last year BlizzCon was supposed to show off a Diablo title, but then it ended up being a mobile game. It was like a Diablo mobile game, and that did not go over well with all of the fans of Blizzard. Well, apparently there is evidence, such as a leaked art book, that seems to indicate that the long-awaited Diablo sequel will finally be announced. Last year, I think that they were kind of going back and forth with it. It almost seemed as though they were going to kind of give a sneak peek of the official Diablo game and then pulled it back last minute because it wasn't ready yet. I might be wrong. I don't know. They're kind of mum on that whole thing, but I think they're going to try and right some of those wrongs from last year, because there was quite a bit of controversy surrounding their BlizzCon.
Yeah, I remember people getting up and be like, tell me this is an April Fool's Day joke.
Yeah. And of course, there will probably be new World of Warcraft expansion news, new content for Hearthstone, and more. So the final story I have here is that Death Stranding review embargo ends November 1st. So at the time of this recording, we have less than 3 hours before the web is saturated with reviews of Hideo Kojima's passion project Death Stranding. And I, for one, am extremely curious as to how this is going to pan out, because it could either be, Steve, a trick or a treat. If you were to read all the different reviews that come out and everybody's giving it like 9s and 10s, do you think you're going to pick the game up?
No.
You've just made up your mind, like you're not going to get it.
I don't trust the reviews until I'll come over and watch it at your place, because there's sometimes there are reviews like, oh, this game's great, and I'm to some folks it is. To me, sometimes it's not.
So segueing over to movie news, we have a juicy little morsel that I'm looking forward to hearing your reaction to, Steve, which of course is the new Witcher Netflix trailer that dropped just today. So let's take a little look-see.
I've heard tales of your kind, Witcher. You're a mutant, created by magic, roaming the continent.
We don't want your kind here.
Hunting monsters for a price. I thought you'd have fangs or horns or something.
I had them filed down.
People call you a monster too. Why not kill them?
Because then I am what they say I am.
All of our choices draw our destinies closer.
If he is out there, there is still hope.
I have to find Geralt of Rivia.
Don't judge me.
They say witches can't feel human emotion. What do you believe in?
Evil is evil. Lesser. Greater. Middling. It's all the same. Princess Cirilla is your destiny. I can't protect her. If you dismiss it, Girls! You will unleash true calamity upon us all. I'll take that chance.
What do you think?
Well, I'm definitely watching it, but I'm going to watch it with a cautious eye, Russ. It seems like they're starting in the beginning, which is good. I think there's a very, very young Ciri.
Did you play the entire series of The Witcher or just Witcher 3?
I have not. I have not played the entire series. I've been looking into the series. Actually, I've been watching people play the game on YouTube because I don't have the games. I don't think Xbox One has the backwards compatibility. I heard actually The Witcher, I don't know. Well, there was one of them that was actually really bad. The story was there, but the animation and the voice acting, everything was pretty bad. So anyhow, I watch a lot of people play it on YouTube. Anyway, it looks like they're starting it over from the beginning. And that's why maybe some of the other actresses look so young. I mean, I've played, of course, the third one quite a lot, and Ciri is grown up. So it looks like Ciri is a younger girl here. Maybe she could be passable since she's so young. Yennefer, I don't know. I mean, Yennefer, I might have to see her in the show.
Yennefer, to me, the jury's still out on that one.
Yeah.
But however, Henry Cavill, dude, I really do like him as Geralt of Rivia.
Right, and they used some classic lines of his in the show too. One thing that I'm going to be cautious about is I've started to follow some of the screenwriters of the show on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Twitter. And they've been talking about how to introduce some politics into the show. And so I hope they don't. I hope it's just like the politics of the time.
Wait, are they trying to fuse the politics of our world into The Witcher?
Yes.
Yeah,
so
that would be bad.
I'm going to watch it with a cautious eye. Yes, the trailer looks very, very good, and it's right up my alley. And I'm looking forward to it, and we're getting close. But just going to watch it a little cautiously.
I think as long as they take kind of a Game of Thrones approach, because Game of Thrones is all about having different types of politics and, you have the different houses vying for power and position and that sort of thing. And I think that The Witcher, especially after playing The Witcher 3, there were elements of that where you had different kingdoms and different factions at war with each other and that sort of thing. And then, of course, The Witcher was kind of plunged in kind of the middle of it, but he was a neutral character. He didn't have any kind of allegiance toward one kingdom or another. I think he had allies in the various kingdoms, but he moved in and out as he pleased. So hopefully they'll stick to something like that.
I want to see Triss in there though, Russ.
I do too.
I want to see Triss.
I do too. Is that the Call of Duty? No, it's the topic of the day! Topic of the day is indeed Call of Duty Modern Warfare game impressions. We have been playing the game over the past week. Of course, it was launched last week, and I believe it has made over $600 million already. I think it was over the first weekend. So, of course, as all Call of Duties tend to do, they are a smash success for the company. So congratulations to Infinity Ward as well as all the other studios. I believe it was High Moon Studios, Raven Studios. Oh, there's one other one in there that I'm missing. But there were, I think, 4 studios total that had a hand in this thing. So congratulations to everybody involved with that. Steve.
Yeah.
I know that you are still making your way through the game.
Right.
I have beaten the single player campaign.
Yes, you have.
What do you think of it so far?
Well, I like it. One criticism that's blaringly obvious, though, Russ, I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to get it out of the way right now.
Are you going to murmur it?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. The animation with the cutscenes, somehow, some reason, some way, why? do they have to make it slightly choppy? They can't just make it fluid and smooth. You know, like you watch certain like facial features of a person and like, man, that looks great. And then you'll see like helicopters and the screen panning from like the sky, or the camera panning from the sky down, and it gets all choppy, like less than 24 frames a second.
I didn't notice that at all when I was playing it.
Noticing that, and I remembered it did the same exact thing with Call of Duty World War II.
Really?
World War I, whatever. World War II. Yes, it exactly. I remember saying that on the show. I'm like, man, sometimes the cutscenes are a little choppy. I don't know if it's just because I'm on the regular Xbox One and not the One X, but now I'm playing it on your One X and it's doing the same thing.
I didn't have that experience when I was playing through it, so that's interesting.
I have a critical eye.
Or maybe the game doesn't like you.
Maybe. But the game is really in your face with the story. I'm glad they brought back the story.
Oh, man.
I'm just being real.
I'm thrilled that Captain Price is back.
Yeah.
I don't know if have you been introduced to Captain Price yet in the game?
Yes.
Okay, he's the British SAS agent.
The dude with the hefty, yeah. Actually, I was going to tell you, the voice actor for him, I have it looked up here. He's actually a character, or was a character anyway, in Longmire.
Oh!
Yeah, he is a actor. Barry Sloan. Sloan?
Okay.
Right. They got some top-rate people. You know who else is in it? What's his face? He was Asher from Spartacus, and he's also in, of course, I reload the page I just had, and it goes away. Anyway, and he also plays, what was the character's name in,
Sesame Street?
No, it was the greatest disappointment of 2019.
What?
With the mechs, the suits, flying around, shooting
Anthem.
stuff. Anthem. He was the operator of the big walking thing.
Was he the guy who double crossed us, who betrayed us?
He was a good guy. You kind of spar with him a little bit. And remember he crashed the walker into the main baddie at the end.
Oh, yes. Gotcha.
That guy. Same voice actor.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, very nice indeed. Yeah, I was not a fan of some of the Call of Duties that came out over the last couple of years. And so I'm really glad that they have returned to true form with this particular version. The funny thing, one of the critical things I have to say is the title itself. They already have a Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and I'm just really surprised that they just couldn't come up with another name.
Nick Taraby.
Oh, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And I actually was a fan of the single-player campaign to Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. And, of course, that game had quite a bit of controversy surrounding it just because, by and large, apparently, like the hardcore Call of Duty fans, they weren't really enamored with the futuristic vision that they had for the game. And I think that had more to do with the multiplayer component, not necessarily the single-player campaign. I personally love the story of Infinite Warfare. I think it was just a really engaging, immersive story. I love the characters that they had in there. You know, they had a big departure from kind of the tried and true characters like Captain Price. But, you know, coming in from that point on to this particular Modern Warfare, I really enjoyed it. I thought the story was great. I think it's cool to be back in present day. I think that there is a lot that people can have fun with when creating a game in present day, especially this type of game, you know, like the Tom Clancy games or the Call of Duty games, that sort of thing. You have such fascinating geopolitics that go on where like all the countries these days, they really have a symbiotic relationship where if some kind of turbulence or turmoil or whatever it is going on in one country, it kind of to a certain extent affects the other countries.
Kind of has a ripple effect.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, to me, it's just ripe from a creative sandbox standpoint where you can come up with a fictional story and you're like, oh, well, if this happened and this, you know, had this type of aftershock and, you know, all this other stuff. And so I'm looking forward to seeing you beat the game because I want to hear what you think of the story in its entirety. And I will refrain for your sake, as well as the listeners out there, because the game is still very new. I don't want to give away any spoilers.
I think I missed something in the early part of the game. I was hoping there was going to be like a like where you duck behind a wall and you can kind of lean over real quick to shoot. Maybe I'm just used to that in Gears, but I think I missed that in the beginning because I was trying to do that throughout the entire campaign.
Well, you hold down, like if you go by like close to a corner, or like even if you're like behind something and you want to just put your gun up, you hold down the left trigger and then you'll see the right stick icon appear. You click that and then it'll mount the weapon like either or on the corner or up just above, and it allows you to get off some shots without getting hit.
That's what I missed, was the left trigger, because all I saw was right button. I'm like, okay, right button. It's like, throw a grenade, bouncing a ricochet off of the wall, and then I'm dead.
Yes.
So that wasn't working for me.
I will have you know I beat the single player campaign on hardened difficulty. One step up from the normal.
Man.
So
My hero.
not too bad. I am your own personal G.I. Joe. Anyway, the graphics. I know, again, you haven't gone through the entire game yet, but I, for one, am very impressed with the in-game graphics in terms of, and of course, Call of Duty has always been a pretty game. Just every iteration of it, you look at it and you're like, yeah, it looks really nice.
Yeah. I like how they don't have any like this heavy music going on. It's just literally like you're paying attention to the atmosphere a little bit, like that when you're in what was it, Kazakhstan?
Sure.
Something like that. I'm sorry. And you hear that announcer telling people what they better look out of, and you're trying to be quiet and just be a civilian, harmless, but it's not intense music. It's just you're paying attention to what's going on. The threat's there.
They've paced it really nicely in that regard, where it feels more realistic to not have music constantly playing. But then when the scene calls for it, then all of a sudden you have some, white knuckle music that's going on. It really gets your blood pumping and stuff. And so you're going to find actually that there are several scenes. Like there's one in particular where I will say you will play a character back when they were younger. I'll leave it at that. And that was probably one of the more intense levels of the game. Really, really cool. A little disturbing, but really cool. And I think that's one of the big things too about the game is that you can see how Infinity Ward was kind of flirting around with different types of what we can call them lines in the sand, where you have something that is controversial or provocative, that sort of thing. They kind of flirt with those lines, but they don't really actually cross them. And I would even say they actually don't even step on them. They get kind of close to them and then kind of back off again. And whether that's, exploring different types of scenarios or ideas of if someone is being tortured in a way that is goes against the Geneva Convention, or if you have certain types of life or death situations that force you to have to make some kind of choice that really has gravity to the situation that's going to stick with you for the rest of the game. They don't really do that. They start to go in that direction, but they don't ultimately explore that. I do wish that perhaps they did do those things a bit, just because it would make you squirm in the chair and cause you to really think man, how would I decide, whether I was going to do A or B? So we will just have to see if they do cross that in the future title, I suppose. But the one other thing too that I think is really worth mentioning is that the lighting has really taken a leap forward. Wouldn't you say? I
would definitely say so. And you can tell that in the first level.
Yeah.
The moonlight kind of bleeding through the trees and the leaves, and it's definitely cool. It made me want to turn the lights off just to play it in the dark.
There's levels later on, and this is really not a spoiler, but you use night vision, and the quality of the night vision, man, it looks like Zero Dark 30. It looks like that scene where they're infiltrating a compound. You're like, what the heck? So that's pretty crazy. It makes me excited, honestly, for the next gen of consoles, because they're going to have real-time ray tracing, which we don't have in current games. And ray tracing itself it is going to make the games look so gorgeous, especially if they're able to do it in real time. Because right now, the hero character that you play is the only real asset that gets lit in real time. Everything else, a lot of times the lighting is baked, or they'll have a kind of a more of a cheaper way to kind of light certain things that perhaps are in real-time lighting, but it's not ray tracing. Ray tracing is where it's at. And with a game like this, especially with how realistic everything looks, it's going to make it even more realistic when they're able to push that. So really, really cool. How far in the game would you say you are? Are you about like a quarter of the way through? Are you halfway through?
Yeah, no, I would say I'm a good quarter. I'm a good quarter. I'm a shiny quarter in. Mm-hmm. Made in 1999.
Indeed.
Yeah, hasn't got too much scuff on it, but just enough to give it some personality, you know?
I haven't had a chance to actually try out the multiplayer side of things. Typically, I suck at Call of Duty multiplayer.
Yeah.
I tend to try and avoid it because I'm no good at all. And there are players who are amazing at it. Having said that, I might give this one a shot though. Pun intended.
The weapons are drawn very well. I will say that.
They are.
I was looking at the 1911 and the M19. I'm like, man, those look really good. I mean, those, I might have to go look at those in person.
What's crazy is I've actually talked to a guy on the weapons team who I had no idea about this. Apparently, the Call of Duty teams have to be very careful about how they model guns. Simply because if they don't have the license for certain firearms from these different companies and stuff, apparently these gun companies and manufacturers are very sue happy. Like they will totally go after them. And so I don't know all the ins and outs. I don't know if they have certain licenses from actual gun manufacturers to be able to replicate those in the game, or if they have to change a certain amount of the visual aesthetics in order for it to look like, you know, oh, it kind of sort of reminds you of this gun, but it, you know, it's actually more of a fictional piece. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of gun companies will make AK-47s or there's just one, you know?
Yeah. That whole thing is just, yeah, it's just very different. Very different indeed, Steve.
Anyway, moving on.
Indeed. So you have been playing as Alex.
Right.
Who's I guess he's a CIA operative or something like that.
Right.
But have you, I guess you played a little bit, I can't remember the character's name, but there's this character who is from the UK. He's part of Captain Price's team. Have you played with him yet?
In the beginning, yes.
Okay, you'll return to him. And of course, there'll be some other stuff too. It's funny because I find myself all of a sudden tiptoeing. I was going to talk much more about the game, but like I said, the game is so new, I just don't want to give away a bunch of spoilers. I do appreciate the length of the story. I know that there have been a couple of Call of Duties in the past where I felt it was too short. I got through it and I was like, wow, that's it. I got through it in like a day. Granted, this game I got through, about 3 days. But that's with some pretty focused playing, you know. Right. I was putting in quite a few hours and that sort of thing. And I know that multiplayer is kind of more their bread and butter, but I am thankful that they've maintained that single player story campaign because that's what I love. I love being told a great story. And I love these types of, like I said, more of like the Tom Clancy quote unquote style stories where it's dealing with governments and espionage and, thwarting some kind of nuclear attack, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, right now I'm definitely putting Battlefield down and going back to Call of Duty because Battlefield was kind of like go-to, like Bad Company, mainly because of the story and the sound effects. They were really good. And they haven't made a Bad Company in a while. It's just been the continual Battlefields, but they're so short. I mean, they are so short. I mean, if you spent $60 on it and you weren't really into the multiplayer, you'd be wasting a ton of money because you can finish that one in probably an afternoon. Yeah. And that's it. So I remember the last Call of Duty I played, which was not the previous Battle Royale Call of Duty, but that campaign took me quite a while to beat. And it was definitely rewarding. And it looks like this is going to go the same way. I like that.
Well, and I also appreciate the realism of this game, not just like what we were talking about with the graphics fidelity, but also too like just the different types of scenarios that you find yourself in as a player, as well as kind of the landscape of what's happening. It feels real. There's nothing that's sensational about it,
right?
And there does seem to be, as you play the game, more of a distinct sense of responsibility. You know, there are certain times where Like I was talking to our good old friend Brad, who actually has not beaten the game yet either. He's a bit farther along. I think he's about 75, 80% through the game.
Gotta get going.
But he was describing a certain scene, and he made a decision to go one way, and I ended up, he asked me if I did the same thing. I said, no, actually I didn't, because I wanted to get more information out of the person, and I wanted to see what I could do.
I see what happened there.
And, the outcome ended up being the same. But so they like I said, they kind of have this little room to play with, like, you can kind of sort of make little decisions, or like if there are massive story points or story beats where like you can actually choose like how the character you're controlling will respond to something that's happening. But I've been told that the same end result occurs. It's not like, oh, here's this like exclusive story arc that you're suddenly on. And I feel like that would be a really great addition to a future Call of Duty title, where they expand upon that particular gameplay element and say, look, we're going to have a really cool replayability here by having different types of forks in the story, so to speak, that the players can choose. And then they can replay the game and then choose the other decisions and just see how things pan out. Maybe there are certain levels that are exclusive to the choices you make. I think there's just a lot there.
Well, there you go. There you go, Russ.
Here I go.
Here I go again.
What is that?
I don't know. That was a classic rock for you. Oh. I think that was John Bon Jovi.
I see. Did you have any concluding thoughts about your gameplay experience of Call of Duty Modern Warfare?
The only concluding thoughts I have are play it, lights off, volume up.
Oh, I approve of your assessment, Stephen.
Thank you.
Yeah, for me, in conclusion, I think that especially if you're a first-person shooter fan, if you're a Call of Duty fan, this has been a victory for Infinity Ward as well as the other developers involved. I think that it is just a solid return to what makes Call of Duty. And what's really cool is I think there is plenty of room to be able, like I said, to expand in future iterations of the title. And I hope that they actually do something that perhaps can be a continuation, because oftentimes what we've seen in Call of Duty is that they don't really have like a cliffhanger. You know what I mean? At the end of the game, it's kind of like, oh, this story has come to an end and enjoy multiplayer. And then when the sequel comes out, then it's like you'll have the characters make a return, but there's no bridging of the games, if that makes any sense. Like in movies, you have sequels and like the story just kind of, the narrative continues where it left off, that sort of thing. I think in a game like this, it would be really neat to do that. And I think to a certain extent, when I think of an older title, like for the Xbox 360, there was the Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter, or GRAW. GRAW and GRAW 2 are a couple of my favorite games ever. And they did a really nice job of not only maintaining the characters, because the main character's name was Mitchell, Captain Mitchell, but also there was this kind of continuation of the narrative that flowed into both games. Maybe not like 100% of the way through, but like there was some of that. And I found myself kind of latching on to that. And I think that Call of Duty, especially with what they've done with this title, oh man, it's like ripe. It's ripe for the picking to be able to do something like that. So that wraps up this episode of Joygasm. Make sure you tune in next week when we recap BlizzCon 2019. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you enjoyed this episode, we invite you to check out patreon.com/Joygasm and consider becoming a monthly contributor. You'll not only get exclusive perks and early access to the show, but you'll also help us continue doing what we love to do. Also, you can follow us on social media and YouTube. Just do a search for Joygasm TV. Last but not least, search Joygasm TV on Twitch to see us stream our gaming adventures live every Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. Central Time. Happy Halloween, everybody.